to the Election Commission. He has said in as many words that we're coming after you. He has been alleging systematic rigging by the Election Commission, whether it's in the elections in Maharashtra or Karnataka or the latest one in Bihar with the whole special intensive revision exercise. He alleges that the Election Commission, instead of being an independent autonomous body, is acting at the behest of the Modi government. The EC has reacted to each of these allegations, whether it's in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Bihar. Of course, every day they are putting out numbers of those people who are either dead or have moved out of the state or who have two ID cards, two Aadhaar cards or two voter ID cards. 65 lakh voters have been rendered ineligible in Bihar. Now, Rahul Gandhi repeats these allegations against the Election Commission almost ad nauseum, almost on a daily basis. He's been saying that over the last 5 days since the parliament session began. Here's the problem with that. Rahul Gandhi is attacking not just the Election Commission or the people who run the institution. He's attacking the very integrity of the election process. What he's also doing is putting seeds of doubt or undermining the faith that ordinary Indians have in the democratic process. That can never be healthy for democracy to function, to thrive, and to flourish in such a large country with such a large population like ours. We'll get to all of that. We'll be speaking to a former Chief Election Commissioner as well. But first, I want to play out for you what Rahul Gandhi said today outside Parliament and why he's been going hammer and tongs attacking the Election Commission.
I want to send a message to Election Commission.
Yes, sir.
If you think you're going to get away with this, if your officers think you're going to get away with this, you're mistaken. You're not going to get away with it because we are going to come for you. I want to send a message to Election Commission.
Yes, sir.
If you think you're going to get away with this, if your officers think you're going to get away with this, you're mistaken. You're not going to get away with it because we are going to come for you. I want to send a message to Election Commission.
Yes, sir.
If you think you're going to get away with this, if your officers think you're going to get away with this, you're mistaken. You're not going to get away with it because we are going to come for you.
We are going to come for you. That is the exact phrase that he's used, meaning there will be retribution for what he alleges the Election Commission has done for sins of omission and commission by the EC. The Election Commission has responded to Rahul Gandhi and they have said that these are unwarranted, threatening statements by Rahul Gandhi when it comes to the Karnataka Lok Sabha elections or whether it concerns the Maharashtra elections, the allegations that he made earlier. This is what the Election Commission has said so far, and I quote, as far as the electoral rolls of Karnataka Lok Sabha 2024 are concerned, not a single appeal was filed either with the district magistrate or with the chief electoral officer of Karnataka, which is a valid legal remedy that's available to all parties, including the Congress party, under Section 24 of the Representation of People's Act. It also adds that out of the 10 election petitions that were filed in the aftermath of Lok Sabha 2024 in Karnataka, a single election petition was filed, not a single election petition was filed by any of the losing Congress candidates as a legal remedy that's available to the Congress party, again under Section 80 of the Representation of People's Act. The Election Commission further says it is wondering as to why such baseless and threatening allegations are being made against the Central Election Commission, and that too now, a full year after the Lok Sabha elections of 2024 have passed. But despite this rebuttal from the Election Commission and the periodic sort of statements that they put out to rebut what Congress party and Rahul Gandhi have been saying, the Congress is only doubling down. In fact, let's listen into some reactions coming in from the Congress spokespersons and ministers and so on in different states, and then we'll also open this up to a guest.
Of course, I fully endorse the statement of Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi has made a big research. My research team in the Congress party has just come out very well. Even in Bangalore also, I have gone through the entire election process. And we had a case study in Madhepura, especially in Madhepura. And we know that. But the Election Commission is not hearing our voice or not trying to rectify things. So I fully endorse his views. We'll have to fight it out.
Meanwhile, in a striking internal critique, a former AICC secretary by name Ashish Dua has pushed back against Rahul Gandhi's allegations of electoral malpractice in Maharashtra. He's called on the Congress to introspect rather than accuse. Ashish Dua, who was the Congress's secretary in charge of Maharashtra for 6 years, he said that if any party accepts a complete collapse of its own acceptance of abandoning polling booths or lack of oversight at entire polling process, then it needs to set its own house in order rather than blame the Election Commission. Form 17A and 17C are the hallmark of due process when it comes to voting, and their completion is signed by agents appointed by the party. And if they are intact, they are accepted, they are signed and tallied, and there are no legal challenges to Form 17C, then it amounts to accepting that the process has happened and you're happy with the manner in which the process has happened. The party must vet its own processes to sharpen the data. That's the criticism that's come from a former secretary of the AICC who is in charge of Maharashtra.
चुनाव के विषय को लेकर जिस प्रकार से कांग्रेस पार्टी, इंडी गठबंधन और विशेषकर श्री राहुल गांधी अनलगर आरोप लगा रहे हैं, पहली बात तो ये इनकी मानसिकता को दर्शाता है कि आपातकाल के 50 साल हो गए मगर मानसिकता नहीं बदली। यदि इंदिरा जी कहती थी कि संवैधानिक संस्था की मान्यता इस आधार पर तय होगी कि मैं चुनाव में जीती या नहीं, तो आज राहुल गांधी कहते हैं कि चुनाव आयोग की मान्यता, प्रामाणिकता इस आधार पर तय होगी कि हम चुनाव जीते या नहीं।
I want to go across to Mr. O.P. Rawat. He's former Chief Election Commissioner of India. Mr. Rawat, thank you for speaking with us. I want you to first address the sort of grave allegations that Mr. Gandhi seems to be making against the Election Commission. Time and time again, he first said that about Maharashtra, saying there were 41 lakh additional voters in a space of 5 months. Then he came out and said in Karnataka, there's one particular Lok Sabha constituency where he says there is giveaway proof of electoral malpractice. Now in Bihar, it's a different tune. He's saying SIR is basically just to delete voters of the India Gadbandhan. How do you respond to these repeated charges he's making against the Election Commission? So much so, yesterday he even, this was a threat. He said, if Election Commission and Election Commission officials think you're going to get away with it, no, we are coming after you. Those are his words.
Actually, Election Commission has replied time and again about all these allegations, and they have given a very cogent reply that in case there was anything wrong, there should have been any election petition, or there should have been other forum where they can go. I would only add that for political party to learn from the past problems. So suppose their party has done some research and found some illegalities or improprieties, they can make use of this information to prevent recurrence of this kind of thing in future elections. As regards SIR, only thing I agree is that timing is not appropriate, because once you publish on 30th September final roll and say 6 million people are out, they will not have enough time to get any remedy, because appeals cannot be disposed of in just about 30 days. That is one reason which caused panic even among the voters.
Okay. No, but I'll leave the SIR part aside for 1 second. What I want to know is, you know, the allegations are spread across various states. Like I said, first it was Maharashtra, then Karnataka, Bihar, of course, is a different case altogether. He is fundamentally attacking the integrity of the election process. He's basically telling Indians that, look, the system, the election system is rigged by the Election Commission in favor of the ruling party. Why would he seed those doubts of the integrity of the election process in the minds of ordinary voters? I don't understand.
That I even don't understand. And that's why I said that if they have found, based on some research, something going wrong, they can use this information for future elections. Because elections which have been gone, for them, election petition was the only remedy. They could have gone there.
So, can you tell our viewers, for example, in every polling station, you have agents of all political parties, agents of various candidates. When the voting is done, at the end of the voting day, they are given Form 17C and they are shown, you know, how many votes have been polled in each of those machines. They have to sign off. Only if they are satisfied will they sign off. And the signing off of Form 17C is an indication that, look, all political party candidates and their representatives who are there in that station are satisfied with the machine and the exercise of casting the franchise and the number of votes that have been the total number of votes that have been cast. So, if Congress party, I would imagine it's a big party, has agents in all of these booths, and if Congress agents have signed off on Form 17C, then why still repeatedly question the integrity of the process and saying that, you know, Election Commission was rigging it for the ruling party?
You're very correct here. However, 100% polling stations are not covered by any party in our country.
Okay.
In fact, many parties have just presence in 10%, 20%, 25% of the polling stations. And that is why what they are talking about their party's research. So I would only say that if they have found something that can be used for future elections.
So who signs off on Form 17C if, let's say, a particular candidate's agent is not there?
Only the polling agents available at the polling stations at the time of closure, only they sign. People cannot be called in to sign the Form 17C.
So if, for example, a particular candidate's agent is not there, a particular party's agent is not there, then 17C is not signed?
Not signed by him. And if no polling agent is there, nobody signs.
And then when the counting happens, when the EVMs are unsealed or desealed for when the counting day happens, again somebody is looking at the machine and tallying, okay, these were the total number of votes polled on the day the voting happened and the EVM was sealed. The same number is showing on the morning of counting. That also has to be vetted by somebody.
Actually, there is a foolproof mechanism to verify. Observer stays back, he verifies everything, cross-checks, scrutinizes all documents, and many errors are found during that process. And those errors are rectified by the intervention of the observer. So processes are foolproof, but as our country has many things, not at all levels of any walk of life, you can expect the 100% delivery of quality results. That is what happens even in elections, because we have millions of people on election duty with varying, level of experience, varying level of qualifications, knowledge, all those things.
So what is essentially happening is Mr. Gandhi is attacking the Election Commission, questioning the integrity of the process, seeding doubts about the integrity of the democratic exercise in the country. We have Tejasvi Yadav, who is the leader of the opposition in Bihar. He is saying that even boycotting elections is an option now. Do you think it will come to a situation where in India, in states, some parties will boycott the election because they don't trust the process?
I have no comment to offer on this political statement.
No, but if it came down to that, if some parties, I'm not saying in Bihar or wherever, if some parties say that they're going to boycott the election because they doubt the integrity of the process, what does that mean for our democracy?
That will be a bad day for our democracy.
And you think that the direction in which some of the opposition parties are going, that day may soon be around the corner?
I won't know. I won't know because I'm not at all concerned with political happenings.
In your time, has there been such questioning of the integrity of the process? I mean, political back and forth will always happen. That's, Congress, BJP, that's fine. But to question the integrity of the electoral process, has this happened before?
Yeah, this was in 2017, EVM. There was a mass movement against EVM, that EVMs have been hacked, manipulated, and that is why the parties lost. And the Election Commission immediately came out with EVM challenge that for a week we will be opening up here in the commission. You go to any polling stations for EVM, bring it wherever you have doubt, and then try to change even one vote from here to there. And Election Commission will do away with EVM. But no political party came to meet that challenge, and that settled the thing. So Election Commission always ensures that all political parties are on board.
Okay, we'll leave it at that, Mr. O.P. Rawat. It's a terrible tragedy in a thriving polity, in a thriving democracy like India, if mainstream opposition parties begin to doubt the electoral process, doubt the integrity of the electoral process, and some of them even threaten to boycott. It is indeed, if it comes down to that, it would indeed be a sad day. Thank you, Mr. Rawat, for joining us. I want to move on to some diplomatic news. It's a turnaround story, and quite a dramatic turnaround story in the world of neighborhood diplomacy. India has managed to turn the corner in Maldives. a country which is right in the Indian Ocean region. It is right within the Indian Ocean perimeter, in our neighborhood, where the current president, Mr. Moizu, came to office on an India Out campaign. He wanted all Indian personnel, Indian doctors, Indian equipment out. That was his campaign. He had taken a very strident anti-India position and a pro-China, pro-Beijing position. But less than 2 years after Mr. Mohammad Moizu became the president of the Maldives and was tagged as an agent of China, India has managed to turn him around. The Prime Minister today was hosted in a state visit in Malé. Tomorrow he will be addressing the Maldivian Parliament for their Independence Day. A number of bilateral agreements were signed today as the negotiations happen between the Indian Prime Minister and the Maldivian President. It is truly a turnaround story in the world of diplomacy at a time when there are concerns raised in India's neighborhood, whether it's in Bangladesh, whether it's in Pakistan. This is one positive story for India where you had a political dispensation, a political leader who took a very strident anti-India position, came to office, and within less than 2 years of coming to office has realized that at least for Maldives, you cannot do away with India, you cannot do without India. Let's listen in to some political reactions, some diplomatic reactions, and I'll go across to my colleague as well.
भारत को मालदीव का सबसे भरोसेमंद मित्र होने पर भी गर्व है। आपदा हो या महामारी, भारत हमेशा फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर बनकर साथ खड़ा रहा है। एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज उपलब्ध कराने की बात हो या कोविड के बाद अर्थव्यवस्था को संभालना, भारत ने हमेशा साथ मिलकर काम किया है। फॉर अस इट इज ऑलवेज फ्रेंडशिप फर्स्ट। हमारी डेवलपमेंट पार्टनरशिप को नई उड़ान देने के लिए हमने मालदीव के लिए $565 मिलियन यानी लगभग 5,000 करोड़ रुपए की लाइन ऑफ क्रेडिट देने का निर्णय लिया है। यह मालदीव के लोगों की प्राथमिकताओं के अनुरूप यहां के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के विकास से जुड़ी परियोजनाओं के लिए इस्तेमाल ली जाएगी। रक्षा और सुरक्षा क्षेत्र में आपसी सहयोग, आपसी विश्वास का परिचायक है। रक्षा मंत्रालय की बिल्डिंग, जिसका आज उद्घाटन किया जा रहा है, यह ट्रस्ट की कंक्रीट इमारत है, हमारी मजबूत साझेदारी का प्रतीक है।
I want to first go across to Aman Sharma, our political editor, who is covering this visit, an important visit of the Prime Minister to Maldives. The relationship was testy a couple of years ago, and now it has been a turnaround story. So, Aman, in the bilateral agreements that were signed today, what was agreed upon by both the leaders? And just walk us through this sort of turnaround story, because it doesn't happen that often in diplomacy.
Well, Zaka, I was just at the press conference which was held by the Foreign Secretary, Mr. Misri, and I think one remark caught my attention when a Maldivian journalist asked him that, certain remarks were made by Maldivian leaders some time back. How does India view that? And the Foreign Secretary was very clear that our ties are strong enough to withstand these remarks made in passing. I would rather not look back, but look at the future, and the future is bright. And I think in those lines, Mr. Misri is encapsulating, I think, the India-Maldives relationship, which is seeing, I think, new highs after it had sunk to big lows in 2024, early 2024. As we all know, the new president came on the Out India campaign. Instead of visiting India, he went to China, he went to Turkey. But now, since mid last year, when our foreign minister went to Maldives, and then we saw the state visit of the president of Maldives to India, and now the Prime Minister's 2-day visit to Maldives. I think the red carpet being rolled out for PM Modi today. The president of Maldives, along with his entire cabinet, present at the airport to receive him, and the deliverables which have been listed out by Mr. Vikram Misri, if I list them out to you, rupees 5,000 crore credit line for Maldives. the connectivity between islands that will be given a push. Both the governments agreeing to start negotiations on a free trade agreement. So all these are big positives, and I think the turnaround, Zaka, has also happened. We are speaking to diplomats here from both sides. Maldives is getting that realization maybe in the last 6 months that it did put its bets on China, but it increasingly seeming to Maldives that India is the all-weather friend. India has always helped Maldives when it came to the crunch, and they have decided that the geographical considerations, they have to return to the relationship which has stood the test of time. And I think that has been reflected in today's talks as well. I think very interesting one point, Zaka, where they had, with the foreign secretary also mentioned that this particular loan which was there on Maldives, and they have to repay huge debt on that. That has been converted from dollar to rupees. So that it brings down the annual debt payout of Maldives almost by 50%. That's also a big move by India to give a big relief to Maldives. A number of projects, and Prime Minister calling the Ministry of Defense of Maldives a building of a concrete trust. So that also explains, I think, the big turnaround. I think much credit, Zaka, to the diplomacy of India, the maturity, the persistence, and not jumping the gun, not taking a knee-jerk reaction when Maldives was speaking the way it was. And the results of that are there for everybody to see. The PM here, from being an out India campaign to the Maldives president inviting Mr. Modi for the 60th Independence Day celebrations of Maldives as the guest of honor. The turnaround is very much explained in that.
All right. And Aman will be there tomorrow in the Maldivian parliament when Prime Minister Modi will be the chief speaker and the chief guest for the Maldives National Day celebrations. Thank you very much, Aman, for joining us live from Malé. I also want to go across to former diplomat Ashok Sajjanhar. Ambassador, thank you very much for speaking with us. It was always this whole great power contest between India and China in the Indian Ocean region. It was Maldives a few years ago, with Sri Lanka, I remember, when the Rajapakshas were ruling there. Now it seems like the neighborhood focus is Bangladesh, to some extent Nepal. How does India, you can't possibly be doing this turnaround. Of course, what we've done in Maldives is incredible. It rarely happens in diplomacy this quickly. But how does India sort of insulate its neighbors from this whole persistent China threat, what we're witnessing in Bangladesh, for example, now, or what we saw in Nepal under Mr. Oli? Is there a way in which you can insulate the neighbors and their relationship with India? Because the one thing you can't change is geography. India is here and the neighbors are here, and none of these countries are going anywhere else. China is far, far away.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zaka. And I think you have answered the question yourself. Geography is king as far as the neighborhood is concerned. And India launched this initiative of the neighborhood first policy, when Prime Minister Modi's government took office 11 years ago. And basically, the idea has both in terms of diplomatic engagement, reaching out to these countries. Just to give you some numbers, Zaka, when Prime Minister Modi visited Nepal, since you mentioned Nepal, in August 2014, just after coming to office, it was the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister, bilateral visit, after a period of 17 years. And since that time, Prime Minister Modi has visited Nepal 5 times. If you look at Sri Lanka, when he visited there in March 2015, it was the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister after a period of 33 years. So you can see the sort of neglect that had been there earlier. And there has been, in Sri Lanka also, I think the Prime Minister has been there 4 times. In addition to that, if you look at connectivity projects, not only as far as physical connectivity, but in terms of lines of credit, economic connectivity in a big way, and also in terms of reaching out to the leadership, to connecting with the leadership. So the point here is what neighborhood first, and in the case of the island countries, what is first Sagar and now the Mahasagar initiative, what it means is to integrate these countries more closely with India, because we have a lot of strengths, whether it is civilizational links, whether it is language, culture, ethnicity, attire. So use all those strengths to bring these countries close to India. So
No,
we've done that.
Ambassador, that is a fair point. I don't deny that. But how does one also counter this China threat? Because China is investing billions. Even in places like Maldives, they're building a whole capital out at sea, in a new capital out at sea for the Maldivians. There is in Colombo, there are these massive port projects that are happening. This hard infrastructure building power that the Chinese seem to be bringing. Of course, in the case of Sri Lanka, they realized the trap of this debt diplomacy after many years, and now they are much more circumspect. But how does India counter that?
Okay, let me make 2 points. Number one, in some of these countries, it is not only China, it is also domestic politics. It is, Bangladesh, it is also domestic politics. It is, not China that sort of, maybe we've been talking about the role of the United States in what happened in Bangladesh.
Correct.
In Maldives also, it was domestic politics that brought Muizu in on the India Out campaign. As far as China is concerned, I think the message is there very clear that many of these projects that China goes into, they are not arrived at on a consultative basis. They are basically not to help those countries land in a debt trap. They are not economically viable. They are not environmentally sustainable. While Indian projects are basically to respond to the needs and demands of those countries. For instance, you look at the greater Malé connectivity project connecting 4 islands in terms of constructing housing as far as Maldives is concerned. Also in Sri Lanka, what India has been able to do, the Trincomalee in energy project, etc. So our projects, whatever. And the last point here I would make on this context is, China might have very deep pockets, but India's capabilities have also grown over the last 10, 11 years. India can do much more, and that is why it is doing so much more. $8 billion, $10 billion to Bangladesh for its lines of credit. The vaccine campaign that we provided vaccines to all these countries. So I think we have strengths. We need to leverage those strengths.
All right, Ambassador Sajjan Har, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
CNN News 18. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the other big story. Just days after business tycoon and Sonacom star chief Sanjay Kapoor passed away in the UK, a fierce boardroom battle has erupted within the company. Sanjay's mother and former Sona Group chairperson Rani Kapoor has raised serious concerns, calling his death mysterious. She's also gone on to allege that she was forced to sign on some crucial documents without her consent. In fact, Sanjay had this dramatic death a few weeks ago where he was playing polo in London. A bee apparently attacked him. He swallowed it inadvertently. It attacked him from inside his system, and that led to a cardiac arrest. Rupa Kapoor has now sent a detailed letter to SEBI as well as to the shareholders of Sonacom Star, and she's added a new twist to this corporate drama, this corporate battle. Rani Kapoor is claiming that while the family is mourning the loss of her son, the death of her son, some are trying to usurp the legacy of the family. Let's listen in to the lawyer who's in fact made this news public, and then we'll try and get some sense of how this could potentially play out both in the public and in the private domain, because we have seen one too many corporate family dramas in the past, but this one involving the dead Sanjay Kapoor and now his mother Rani Kapoor. But first, let's listen into the lawyer's reaction.
What are the allegations in the letter per se?
So the letter that has been sent last night by Mrs. Rani Kapoor, as I've said, is quite self-explanatory. If you have seen that letter, it's saying that she has come across certain facts leading up to the death and immediately post the death, which has created grave apprehension in her mind. Also, she is yet to be formally intimated about the actual cause of the death. But most importantly, I think what the letter seems to be suggesting is that she seems to be she's made it clear that she's the head of the Sona Group. She's the head of the Kapoor family. The entire legacy had been bestowed upon her by her late husband, Shri Surinder Kapoor, who was the founder of the Sona Group. And today, attempts are being made to sideline her for people to show that they are representing the family or they are representing the Sona Group and come onto the board. So she's put it in the letter to say, with the facts the way they are unfolding, she's requested the board of directors and the shareholders not to proceed further with any appointments in the representative capacity of the Sona Group currently. And yes, she certainly has grave apprehensions of what has happened here.
So Rani Kapoor is basically alleged that a hostile business environment was being created to usurp her family's legacy and also question the speed of leadership changes soon after her son's death. She has alleged in a letter that she was compelled to sign on documents without any explanation and without really knowing the contents of those documents behind locked doors. She's also alleged that she had no knowledge of what those documents contained, whether it was any kind of shareholder agreement or whether it was any kind of, partaking of the company's assets. Sona Comstar has confirmed it has received Rani Kapoor's request. This happened late yesterday, just hours before what was a scheduled AGM meeting. But the company maintains there was no legal ground to defer the AGM and that Rani Kapoor does not have the authority or the shareholder value to try and disrupt the AGM or to defer the AGM. The company has categorically said that it had obtained or asked for any documents from Rani Kapoor after Sanjay Kapoor's death, and none of it was taken from her by force or through coercion or by applying pressure, and that she willingly gave up whatever she gave up. Let's listen into our legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar, who has more details on this enduring family drama, and that too coming just weeks after the tragic death, certainly the circumstances and the manner of the tragic death of Sanjay Kapoor.
Months after the mysterious demise and in fact death of Sanjay Kapoor, a business tycoon and ex-husband of actor Karishma Kapoor, a family feud has now erupted after his mother Rani Kapoor has levelled allegations of being forced to sign documents and in fact also saying that she is being chucked out of in fact the group of companies of Sona Group. Now this letter that has been addressed in fact to the shareholders and board of directors of the Sona Group of companies and Sona Consort very categorically states that she has been coerced and forced to sign certain documents without even being given requisite time to read it. In fact, she calls the death of her son a little mysterious one, says that there is much more than it meets the eye. It is in fact the claim that has been made by Rani Kapoor in a letter addressed to the shareholders and board members of the Sona Consortium and the Sona Group of companies, wherein she has very categorically stated that attempts are being made in order to take away the shareholdings and to pitch people into the board of directors, where she has not given any consent even after being the major shareholder of the group of companies itself. Rani Kapoor's letter drew a shockwaves and in fact smeared off family feuds being erupting inside in fact the family, which was once in fact headed by Sanjay Kapoor and was a legacy that was drawn by his father by starting off the group of companies of Sona Group.
India is marking 26 years of our victory in the Kargil War. On the 26th of July 1999, India prevailed over Pakistan and pushed it back to its own territory. Kargil Vijay Diwas preparations are underway at the War Memorial in Dras, which was established in the year 2000, the following year after the Kargil War. That memorial stands as a lasting tribute to over 500 Indian soldiers who perished in this high-altitude conflict against Pakistani regulars who had dressed up like infiltrators, like intruders, and came in and occupied the icy heights of Kargil and Dras. Our reporters are there on the ground ahead of Kargil Vijay Diwas. These are some of the stories that they have reported from there.
545 lamps have been lit at the Kargil War Memorial in memory of those brave 545 brave hearts who laid down their lives for a better tomorrow. And you can see that these lamps were lit by the next of kin and somebody's father, somebody's mother, somebody's husband. They all have come here in remembrance of all those brave hearts who sacrificed their life while fighting the 1999 Kargil War. There are a total number of 545 diyas, as I mentioned earlier, and this is a moment where everyone remembers how they sacrificed their life while pushing back all those intruders who had occupied those daunting peaks and the difficult terrain where only brave hearts can go and can challenge the enemy. They were at an upper altitude and at a very challenging location where it was difficult to even push them back. But they challenged their nerve, their grit and determination ensured that they're able to reach on the top of those hills. Some of them have been named after those brave hearts who laid down their lives, and some of them still have the stories. And you will see brave hearts' families have come here, and this is the Kargil War Memorial which has been built after them. And there are names also inscripted of each one of them here, but an occasion where everyone is remembering those brave hearts who laid down their lives while fighting in Kargil War in 1999. With Bashir Lone in Kargil, Shanwani for CNN News 18.
All right, it's going to be India versus India in the grand finale of the FIDE Women's World Cup. In a thrilling semi-final showdown, Grandmaster Koneru Hampi staged a remarkable comeback against China's Tingjie Lei, clinching victory in the tiebreaker to set up an all-Indian final against Divya Deshmukh. After drawing both classical games and then splitting the rapid tiebreakers one each, Hampi held her nerve to edge past Lei in the final blitz round. With this win, both Hampi and Divya have secured their spots in next year's prestigious Candidates Tournament. The final begins Saturday after a day's rest, promising a clash of generations and styles. Hampi being the older millennial, and of course, Divya Deshmukh, the rising Gen Z star. It's a proud moment indeed for Indian chess.
Hampi, congratulations. That was one of the most exciting tiebreaks I've seen in a long time. What are your thoughts after this grueling match?
Yeah, it's a very tough match, especially I think initially I played quite bad with the black pieces and she always had the advantage. And after the loss, it was a very difficult situation, but I was able to come back. I think Vijay was very comfortable. Even in the last game, instead of bishop b3, e4 would have just killed the position. I just realized after making the move. Vijay was in my control.
But you seem to be missing some tactics in the rapid games, but this final portion of the match was unbelievably well played.
I played a bit shaky in the rapid. It was very tough match, and she also gave a very good fight.
Hampi, Divya qualified yesterday, you qualified today. It's going to be an all-Indian match for the final. You won the Olympiad. We have the world champion who's Indian as well. What does this mean for Indian chess, especially for female Indian chess, to have the two Indian players in the final?
Yeah, I think it's one of the happiest moments for the chess fans, because now the title is for India for sure. But of course, as a player, tomorrow it will be quite a tough game as well. Divya has played tremendously well in this whole tournament.
Tomorrow you do have a rest day, so it's next after tomorrow. There are thousands of people now following the chat. Please give them a message of encouragement. Tell them what they can do to maybe one day play at your level and participate in these tournaments, especially for the girls out there.
Yeah, I think for girls it's really important to always compete and, especially among the boys. It's important in their learning stage to fight with the male players so that they could improve their skills.
Hampi Koneru qualified for the finals. It's been a thrilling match, and the best of luck for the last game against Divya.
Thank you.
The long-running border dispute between two Asian neighbors, Cambodia and Thailand, is intensified into full-blown fighting. There's fighter jets, artillery tanks, ground troops. At least 16 people have been killed in these deadly clashes. Thailand has now declared martial law in the border districts, in the border areas with Cambodia. Both countries have expelled each other's ambassadors. This is over a 100-year-old dispute, and there is a 1,000-year-old temple in that disputed site. Here's a deep down of what's going on the ground.
The renewed border flare-up between Thailand and Cambodia is only the latest episode in a long-running territorial dispute. A dispute that is rooted in colonial cartography and unresolved nationalism. At the heart of the conflict lies the 11th century Preah Vihear Temple, which is on top a cliff along the contested border. While the International Court of Justice ruled in 1962 that the temple itself belongs to Cambodia, the surrounding territory remains disputed, especially a 4.5 square kilometer area that both countries claim as their own. This flashpoint resurfaced in 2008 when Cambodia succeeded in getting the temple listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That move inflamed Thai nationalist sentiment and sparked military standoffs in the ensuing years. The court revisited the issue in 2013, reaffirming Cambodia's sovereignty over the temple, but not settling the status of the disputed border. Every clash near Preah Vihear tends to reopen old wounds. It becomes a rallying cry for nationalists on both sides and a diplomatic headache for ASEAN. The latest skirmish appears no different, an uneasy mix of historical grievance, domestic distraction, and opportunistic militarism. But beyond the temple itself lies a broader failure of political will. Both Bangkok and Phnom Penh have used the dispute as a tool of internal politics, deflecting criticism at home by appealing to patriotism abroad. Until both sides commit to a permanent demarcation, backed by international guarantees, this border will remain a fuse waiting to be lit. A troubling pattern has emerged over the past 2 decades. Border clashes between Thailand and Cambodia often erupt when Thailand is ruled by a democratically elected civilian government and recede when the military is in control. The timing of the latest flare-up near Preah Vihear has prompted speculation. Is this yet another engineered crisis meant to weaken Thailand's fragile civilian leadership? Consider the 2008 to 2011 period under Prime Minister Abhisit Vejjajiva and then Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra. These 3 years marked by multiple deadly confrontations with Cambodia, often over the same disputed terrain. Those years were politically turbulent in Thailand, with the military looming large over civilian rule. It was during these times that border nationalism surged, fanned by royalist and right-wing factions. This political theory is not far-fetched. The Thai military has historically positioned itself as the ultimate guardian of national sovereignty. Clashes at the border serve as potent pretexts for the army to assert control, undermine elected governments, and justify interventions into civilian rule. When the military ruled directly or through a proxy, like in the years between 2014 and 2022, the border stayed relatively quiet. The current civilian coalition, under suspended PM Paetongtarn Shinawatra, faces domestic criticism and is seen as vulnerable. The border clash arrives just as opposition groups call for stronger leadership. Is the army once again maneuvering behind the scenes to reclaim political relevance? If so, the danger lies not just at the border, but at the heart of Thailand's democratic experiment. These clashes may be less about Cambodia and more about control of Bangkok itself. At first glance, the Thailand-Cambodia border skirmish appears to be a localized dispute over an ancient temple. But beneath the surface, it's part of a deeper regional game, one that increasingly pits China and the United States against each other in Southeast Asia. Cambodia, under both Hun Sen and now his son Hun Manet, has drawn closer to Beijing. Thailand remains a treaty ally of Washington, albeit one that's been hedging its bets. Beijing's influence in Phnom Penh is undeniable. China is Cambodia's largest investor, donor, and strategic partner. The construction of the Ream Naval Base, widely believed to be for dual-use military purposes, has raised alarms in Washington. In contrast, Thailand has tried to balance its ties, participating in America-led military exercises like Cobra Gold, while not alienating China. While there is no evidence of direct foreign involvement in the current conflict, the geopolitical context is unmistakable. The Mekong Delta has become a chessboard of influence. Cambodia is firmly in Beijing's strategic orbit, while Thailand plays in the middle. As tensions escalate globally over Taiwan, the South China Sea, and military alliances, these smaller conflicts take on bigger meanings. What looks like a clash over heritage and history may be part of a larger, shifting battle for control of Southeast Asia. Every time a bullet is fired across the Thailand-Cambodia border, it's not just soldiers who respond. So do TV anchors, right-wing influencers, and street protesters. Nationalism sells well in Thailand's hyper-politicized media environment, and when governments are struggling domestically, the Cambodia border becomes an easy lightning rod for public outrage. The latest clash near Preah Vihear has already been picked up by nationalist groups accusing the Thai government of weakness. Thai-language media outlets are running wall-to-wall coverage of border shelling, calling for stronger military retaliation. This isn't new. In 2008 to 2011, the Yellow Shirt protests frequently cited Cambodian encroachment as a justification for their anti-government rallies. The pattern is cynical but effective. Manufacturing outrage over lost territory provides political ammunition for royalist factions and the military elite. The emotional pull of patriotism diverts attention from real economic grievances or corruption scandals. It also puts pressure on elected leaders to appear tough, often ceding foreign policy to the army. The recent border clash with Thailand marks the first real foreign policy test for Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet.
Why then is this Epstein scandal roiling Trump's MAGA base in a way that we haven't seen any other issue quite so lividly and in such an outrageous fashion, sort of tearing up his base, and his base is now sort of turned on him, the MAGA base. William H. Buter, list is now joining us. Thank you very much. Just trying to understand this Epstein saga, which seems to be sort of really singeing the Trump administration. Can you explain to our viewers why in the last 6 months, of all the issues that have come up in front of the Trump administration, none of that seems to be consuming his MAGA base as much as this Epstein story? Why is that?
Well, the MAGA base and other conspiratorial groupings in the US have focused on the Epstein issue as a major piece of evidence that the ruling class is in the United States deeply corrupt and engaged in sexually perverse things. This was a major issue with which the MAGA base attacked the Democrats and criticized them for not releasing information they might have about the Epstein case. But it flipped when Trump took over as president, because then the demands for information were directed at the Trump administration, who did not provide it. And so we are in the strange situation that the MAGA base and the conspiracy theorists are now and will continue to focus on the Trump administration as an obstacle, for possibly perverse reasons, to full revelation of the Epstein mystery.
So how is this then likely to play itself out over the next few weeks and months? Because Trump seems to be trying all kinds of deflection strategies. He talked about Obama. There's now this new investigation launched by the Intel folks, by Tulsi Gabbard and others. Do you see the MAGA base sort of falling for it, or do you think the Epstein story is not going to go away and Trump is going to find it very hard to deflect strategy?
I think that these issues, both the Epstein issue, especially the Epstein issue, could cost the Republicans seats in the midterm election of 2026, because the MAGA base, while I wouldn't go and vote Democrat, might simply not turn out to vote for the Republican candidate. So it is, I think it's all hot air, basically, including the noise about Russian interference in the American elections, which clearly did happen. And Obama obviously played no role in any false rumor mongering, but this will remain significant issues. And I doubt, however, whether they will crowd out the Russia issue, the Epstein issue. The Epstein issue will remain there until all information is revealed, which won't happen ever in most likely.
All right. William Buter, thank you very much for joining us and putting that issue into perspective.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Text on these developments, but these are through top Indian intelligence sources. What this means, what the ramifications are for these regions in Pakistan. These are regions, remember, that are typically governed by the PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. We're going to bring you more context. Take a look at reactions, then we'll go over to reporters for more context.
पूरा पाकिस्तान जान गया था कि मेरे इन पे रिजर्वेशन हैं और मैंने बाकायदा तौर पे इसके ऊपर बात की। मुझे किसी का खौफ नहीं है, मैं किसी के खौफ के बगैर ये बात पहले दिन से कर चुका हूं और मैं दोबारा रिपीट कर रहा हूं कि उसके बाद हमने ऑपरेशन किए, हमने उनको इलाकों से खाली करवाया। आपने वो वीडियो देखी, वो वीडियो देखने के बाद दोबारा उन लोगों को लाया गया, दोबारा उन लोगों को जब पकड़ा गया तो हमारी ISI और हमारी MI ने उन लोगों को ऑन किया कि ये लोग हमारे लोग हैं, मेहरबानी करें, हम इनको इस्तेमाल करते हैं किसी भी काम के लिए, और उन्होंने पुलिस से उनको छुड़वाया। अब दोबारा वो लोग फिर ज्यादा हो चुके हैं, तो मेहरबानी करें अपने वर्दी वाले बंदे से अपनी जंग लड़ें। गुट तालिबानों के जरिए जो आप उनको ऑन करके जो जंग लड़ने की कोशिश आप कर रहे हैं, उससे आपके दरमियान और अवाम के दरमियान एतमाद खत्म हो रहा है, आपके दरमियान और मेरी पुलिस के दरमियान एतमाद खत्म हो रहा है, आपके दरमियान और मेरी हुकूमत, मेरी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के दरमियान एतमाद खत्म हो रहा है। गुड तालिबान आर नॉट एक्सेप्टेड। अगर आपको उनकी जरूरत है तो उनको फौज में भर्ती कर लो।
लॉयर ने उनसे पूछा कि आपकी तबीयत ठीक है, तो कहते हैं खान साहब जैसे कि हमेशा से कहते हैं कि मेरी तबीयत बिल्कुल ठीक है, लेकिन जो मेरे साथ टॉर्चर किया जा रहा है इसकी बात आप बाहर जाके जरूर करें कि ये कौन सा कानून है जिसके तहत ये हो रहा है। आगे उन्होंने उस पर वजाहत की। उन्होंने कहा इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में मार्शल लॉ नहीं है, इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में आसिम लॉ है, इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में 26वीं तरमीम लाई गई है जिसके तहत सिर्फ इमरान खान को इस अजियत में डालने के लिए, टॉर्चर करने के लिए उन्होंने जो जजेस लगाए, जिसमें काजी फाइजी सा, अमीनुद्दीन और सरफराज डोगर, ये 3 जज का मकसद ये था कि पार्टी खत्म करें और इमरान खान को खत्म करें। इंतजामिया जो गफूर अंजुम है सुपरिटेंडेंट, उन्होंने कहा फिर से कि जब से ये आदमी आया है गफूर अंजुम सुपरिटेंडेंट, तब से मेरे ऊपर जुल्म बहुत बढ़ गया है, बहुत ज्यादा जुल्म जो कर रहा है इसकी मौजूदगी में, इसके हाथों से करवाया जा रहा है, इसकी सरबराही में किया जा रहा है।
Okay, let's go over to Colonel Rohit Dev to understand more. He's a senior defense expert and he joins us live on this show. Colonel Dev, a few different accusations that have been made over here, and I want to go to each one separately. So, Colonel Dev, let's just talk with, first, let's start with what it is that the Chief Minister in this region, he is the Chief Minister in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region. This is Ali Amin. We played out his bite, what he had to say for our audience. Colonel Dev, just explain what he said to our audience, because in his bite, in his comment, Ali Amin is making a very, very important point. He's essentially saying that central organizations in Pakistan are supporting local militants and therefore coming in the way of local efforts to secure the area. They're calling certain militants, quote, good Taliban. What does that mean? Break it down for us.
Right. So apparently it's in sync with what Pakistan is doing. So the allegation primarily is that ISI is creating this kind of an unrest through militia there,
right.
Which has been a fact because the ISI has been meddling in that affairs for a long time. And whatever inhuman treatments have been meted out to these citizens as well has always been orchestrated through the ISI channels and the army of Pakistan. The other allegation which he is alluding to is also the collusion between ISI and some foreign intelligence agencies, which again is in sync with what the minister from Pakistan spoke 2 months back when he was speaking to a foreign media and when he was trying to boast that how Pakistan was the vassal state carrying out the nefarious designs of the Western powers, especially in the region of northwest, northern part of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and such like areas. So I think that is the first part. That it's just a sort of a public speech given, which calls out the ISI, which calls out the collusivity of ISI and the army, and also hints at the collusion of foreign intelligence. So I think that is a big thing which he's saying because. This entire thing is under the boil, and you have seen how the reactions are happening, even in the aspect of Balochistan. And you can appreciate in 1990s, late 1990s, Pakistan used to use gunships against civilians. And you just saw a video, I think, a couple of days back, when they were brutally, shooting at children in some valley. That video had come out; it was also there on the social media as well, duly verified. So I think these kind of claims only give a voice to the international committee to take note of this. Apparently, people don't take note because it's not affecting their own, happiness back in West or Europe. I think it's a very pertinent point for the human rights wings and for the United Nations to take these things at their face value, collate more information, and be able to call out Pakistan. Because at one hand, Pakistan, is misusing the UN platform to voice opinions. They have tried to seek something on Kashmir with US unilaterally. I don't think so. Pakistan is in any way a state which cannot be described but as a terrorist state. And this is coming out straight from the book of, their concept to fuel terrorism as an instrument of diplomacy. And they are using it against the people whom they have illegally annexed their territories. So I think that's the way it's going in Pakistan.
Colonel Dev, I do want to understand from you this comment that the Chief Minister has made, where he said that intelligence agencies are shielding extremists under the guise of supporting a good Taliban. Is this surprising to you? Have you heard this version of... No, just tell us, have you heard this version of good Taliban versus bad Taliban before?
President Musharraf, he on his bed in London said this a couple of times. So good Taliban, bad Taliban doesn't work that way in the real world. Terrorist is a terrorist, right? So somebody's terrorist who's working for somebody is called good just because the West wants to call somebody good and ISIS gets a shield. It doesn't become good. So I think the West has learned the lessons. The US evacuated Afghanistan. They've learned what good or bad Taliban is or was. Similarly, the ex-president of Pakistan, that too a military dictator, has gone on record to talk about them. And now a minister has spoken about how they have been colluding with the Western powers to fuel terrorism on the garb of good Taliban. So I think that's a hoax because Taliban created for the Russian part as a Cold War era has got no value today because Taliban is a terrorist kind of an organization in terms of its construct. And if you are doing it, then you cannot be good or bad. I mean, killing people is bad. So there can be no blanket put over this no shield put over this.
Okay.
And the Chief Minister calling it out is absolutely plain speak, black and white.
Colonel, can you also comment on the different regions that are governed by Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf? Because one of the claims made by top Indian intelligence sources is that there's a pattern taking place. ISI opposing stability in any area.
Viewers, tonight when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in the Maldives, he marks 4,078 consecutive days in office, officially surpassing Indira Gandhi to become India's longest-serving non-Congress Prime Minister. Viewers, only Nehru exceeds the Prime Minister in terms of the time he spent in office, and a lot of that was because Mr. Nehru occupied the first 5 years in a nominated capacity. In a time of hyper-competitive electoral politics in a mature democracy that India has gone on to become, this is a remarkable achievement. No world leader in the last few decades in a frontline democracy has been able to earn the trust of the people and stay on in office in the manner Modi has done.